All right, guys. This is a big time topic that I'm going to get into. Hopefully, I won't be too lengthy, but I want you to hang with me here. Um, NASCAR banning the use of the Confederate flag. I'm going to talk about this topic, and it's a topic that I've kind of taken my time to really listen to a lot of people and kind of form my own opinion of it. And I'm going to be honest in this video. This video is going to go out to everybody out there in YouTube that supports this channel. This is going to go out to Chase Elliott Fanatics, my Facebook group page. I love you guys, everybody that supports that page. I've got 2,100 people in that group. A great group of people. I love you guys. Thank you for supporting that page. And we got a fun group of people. And I want to keep it, I want to keep it light. I want to keep it fun. And, no bickering, no arguing, complaining, and things like that. We all got our opinions, and so much of it I'll let go, a lot of the debating, but when it gets into the name calling and things like that, that's when I got to take charge and do what I got to do and let some people go. And I've had to do that, unfortunately. NASCAR, the history of it, the roots of it, they run deep. And there's a video that I watched, and I'd like for you guys to take the time to listen to it, because it really kind of made me think, and it opened my eyes to a lot of things. And I'll post a link to that video in the description box. You guys can go check it out. The Plumber, great NASCAR fan. Really a heartfelt message that he put out there to everybody in the NASCAR community that's up in arms over this whole thing. I am Southern. I'm as Southern as it gets. From deep in the heart of Texas. Beaumont, Texas is where I'm from originally. I live in Port Neches, Texas now. And if you can't tell by the accent, I'm sorry, but yeah, I am Southern. And us Texas boys, we were at Gettysburg. We were in the Civil War. And we fought and we died and we bled with all of those guys trying to make a better world. Not just a better country, but a better world, And that's what we need to focus on right now, is doing our part to make a better world, not just a better country. It's going to take everybody coming together to make things go right and to make things go better. Hang with me. Hang with me in this video. Do I think that the Confederate flag is racist? It's a flag. Of course not. That flag was used by the soldiers of the Confederate Army to, it's what they fought for. It's what they believed in. It was used to signify, their side versus the Union side. Those men had a goal and a vision, and they fought for it. And they died and they bled and they suffered for the cause. The Civil War, a lot of people don't know just how bad it really was. A lot of those soldiers, they didn't even have shoes, man. And when they issued out footwear, they just gave you a pair of footwear. It might not even been the right size. Half the time it wasn't. They just said, here you go, here's some shoes. If they didn't fit, you had to go grab your buddy. Hey, man, you got a bigger size? Let me try those on. And a lot of those guys didn't even have shoes. They were out there climbing around, running through the forest, barefooted. Those were real men. Even the soldiers of today didn't go through what those guys went through. Okay? Taking nothing away from the men and women of the armed forces today, but that was a different era, that was a different time, a different mentality and way of fighting. They would just line up and shoot each other. That's how much pride they had in what they believed in and the cause that they were fighting for. No fear. And if there was fear, they put that fear aside long enough to go out there and do the job. And they put their lives on the line, and many of them, a lot of them, lost their lives by standing up for that cause and for what they believed in. Is the Confederate flag racist? No, it's not racist. It's just a flag. People get mad, when I fly the Texas flag, It's my home state. I love it. It's where I'm from. That's all it is. I love where I'm from. I'm from Texas. Does it mean that I'm un-American? No. I'm American first and foremost. First and foremost. American. We're all American. The flag is not racist. Are there racist people that fly that flag? Yes, of course. Racism is rampant all over. But we're all American. Regardless of the color of your skin, I'm no more American than the next person. Now, we could get into illegal immigrancy and all of that, and yes, I believe if you come to this country, you need to do it right. You need to become a full-blown citizen of this country and do it correctly. As long as you do that, who can say anything? But the flag itself is not racist. Okay, there are a lot of people that take a lot of pride in where they're from, just as I do. I'm from the South, and we have a different way of life in the South. Okay? Hard-working people, blue-collar people. And yes, Nascar was built in the South. It started in the South. It was built in the South. I get that. I understand that. But it's for everybody. It's for everybody. We should want to see this sport taken all over the place. Let people see how great it really is and how great it can be. So the flag is not racist. Okay? Now, Larry the plumber, he in his video that I'm going to post, he said a lot of things, as I mentioned before, that really stuck out to me and meant a lot to me. Just a great word, a great message that he brought across. A lot of good points. The best video I've seen yet. And a lot of truth to what he said. That flag is not your heritage. You didn't fight for it. Your daddy didn't fight for it. Your grandpa didn't fight for it. Your brother didn't fight for it. And probably your grandpa's grandpa didn't fight for it. Civil War took place a long time ago. And unfortunately, we're still fighting that war. It's still a race war. It hasn't ended. It will probably never end. Ever. There's no one race that's any better than the next. Now, a lot of people, I'm a believer in God above. Anybody that knows me, you know this. I'm not going to start preaching at you right now. That's for a different video. But there are people out there that say that God does not see color. That is a blatant lie. God sees every color, every race for what they are. Why? Because He created it. He created them. He doesn't see color the same way that we see color. He sees the beauty of that race. He sees the beauty of that culture because he got it started. He created it. And as far as that goes, every white man out there has, for the most part, a certain amount of African American gene within you. You might not want to believe that, but that is the truth. You have a blood test done somewhere down the line, more than likely there's going to be some African American, some Mediterranean. I've got Mediterranean in my blood, believe it or not. I've got Native American in my blood. So see, it's about looking at the beauty of the culture. Just because the color of your skin is what it is, that doesn't mean that that's, completely what you are. You got blood that runs through your veins, and you got a background that you don't even know about because you haven't done the research on yourself. People are people. Every single race out there, you have good and you have trash. Every race has the good and the bad. Somebody from every race at some point has pissed me off. And 9 times out of 10, it's been white people that have pissed me off, Different things that happen. You cut me off on the highway, you're going to be lucky if I don't track you down and pull over, at the HEB and ask you where you learned to drive. That's me. As long as I ain't got my kids with me. I'll follow you home. I don't care. But people make you mad and people tick you off. Doesn't matter what the color of their skin is. You have good and you have bad. Now getting back to the Confederate flag, no, it's not racist. It's also not your heritage. Down the line, yes, we all had people that have fought from our families in World War II, World War I, the Korean War. My grandfather fought in World War II. My other grandfather was a pilot in the Korean War. All the way back to the Civil War. I've tracked my family name. Half of us, basically right down the line, half of us were on the Union side, half of us were on the Confederate side. So we were killing each other. So that shows you how crazy my family line is. So, it ain't a racist flag, it's just a flag. And very, very few of those original flags still exist. So like Larry said in his video, when you fly that flag, you are flying a representation of that flag. You're not flying your heritage, you're flying your $20 bill, because that's about what it cost to buy that flag. I understand the pride behind it. Trust me, I do. I am Southern. I'm Southern. We need to get back to the heart of the matter. Know and realize that NASCAR had a decision to make. It was an unpopular decision. That flag wasn't hurting anybody. I get that. I understand that. It wasn't hurting anybody, but it's offensive to some. Now, if we all sat back and got offended by something or voiced our opinions all the time on those things that offend us, man, we wouldn't have anything. We wouldn't have nothing. That guy's drinking a beer, that offends me. I don't like it. We wouldn't have anything. There would be no fun. There would be no sporting events. There would be nothing. Because everybody's offended by something. Let's whine and cry and complain because we're offended. But when it's the issue of race, when it's the issue of culture, when it's the issue of I'm an American too, then yeah, it's a problem. It is a problem. I agree, those flags hurt nobody. They've been flying from the beginning, here and there and wherever. I understand that you have your rights. But it's a pride thing and it's a heart thing. You know, none of us fought for that Confederate flag. None of us. And though maybe our ancestors did, it was their heritage. They fought, they died, they bled for that flag, not us. My grandfather, I take a great deal of pride in the fact that he fought in World War II. My other grandfather, you know, the Korean War, my step-grandfather, 8 years with the United States Navy, was at Pearl Harbor, was there, survived it 8 years, went through World War II and was still, you know, working on those ships, doing his thing, became sheriff of Yazoo County, Mississippi after the war. Up until he died, he was sheriff over that county in Mississippi. So I love my family line and the fact that they fought and they died and they bled. You know, my ancestors, so on and so forth, but they fought for it. They died for it. They bled for it. We didn't do anything. Anybody can go and buy a flag and wave it with pride. Yes, I understand that. You know, I don't think that it's very respectful to strap it to the back of your four-wheel drive and drag it around until it frays in the wind and falls apart. Larry brought that, you know, into his video, and that's a great point. How respectful is that? Let me put it into perspective for you. Say you have a child that enters the armed forces. That child gets killed in battle. They drape an American flag over his casket. They fold that flag up and they give it to you. Would you fly it in the wind? No, man. You would hold on to that thing, put it in a shadow box, and you would hold on to it because it means that much to you. You wouldn't fly it. You wouldn't let it get torn up. You wouldn't let it get destroyed. So people are taking this flag, this symbol that meant something and still means something to a lot of people, and they fly it and they treat it honestly like a piece of trash. The way that they handle it, you know, and take care of it. It still means something to a lot of people. And we need to respect it. We need to respect all the men and all the women who have died in battle. And love and honor and respect those that still fight to protect us. Even though our world is a crazy place, our country it's wild right now. I understand that. There's a lot of things that I don't agree with. But I can't change everybody else, but I can change me. And I can work on me. And that's where it starts. It's a matter of the heart, you know. I don't agree with everything that's going on with the movement and everything, you know. Hey, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. There's things that we as white people do that offend the African American community and race, and there's things that they do that irritate us, and there's things that the Spanish do that irritate us, and we do things that irritate them, and it's just, we just gotta love people, man, and then just pardon me, get through this, because if we don't, it ain't never gonna change. It's never gonna get better. We're never gonna move forward. It's hard for me to even turn on the news with all this that's going on, you know, and I haven't turned on the news. I've heard it through the grapevine. I've heard it listening to the station, you know, the radio. Can't even turn on the radio to listen to some rock and roll without, you know, something being said about the whole thing. And it does need to be said. The news needs to get out there, but you can't even trust the news anymore. The coronavirus, are the numbers right? Are the numbers wrong? Is it blown out of proportion? Is it not blown out of proportion? It's crazy what's going on in the world. And I've told all of you, and I believe in God above, and I'm telling you, that ain't just a book that I believe in. There's a lot of truth in it, and it's all truth. And we're starting to see that truth unfold right before our very eyes. What the Word of God says is going to come to pass, it's coming to pass. Says that in the end times, man will be a lover of himself. Man, how much of that are we seeing right now? Me, how I feel, what I want. It's rampant, and it's all over. Love your brother as yourself. You know, the two greatest commandments: love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. The second is to love your neighbor as yourself. There are no commandments greater than these. You know, don't mean to go off preaching, but man, we really need to put our arm around our brother and love that person. We need to think about what's important. Raising our kids is important. YouTube ain't important. We can put great messages on here and reach a lot of people. And yeah, it's important, but it ain't what's most important. It's not. We don't want our kids to grow up hating, because we don't want our kids hated. We need to accept everybody. And like the great dragon Bruce Lee, he come over to this country with $100. That's all he had. And he had a goal in mind. I want to show people the true beauty of my culture and what it's all about. Martial arts. The guy did phenomenal because he had a goal, he had a dream, he had a vision, and he is a legend and will always remain a legend because he did his best. He put his full effort into everything that he did. And that's what we need to do. We need to put our full effort into everything that we do, and that includes loving each other. That includes standing up for what's right, regardless of what our brother, sister, father, mother think. What's right? You know, I love NASCAR. Let's talk a little bit about NASCAR. I love NASCAR. Have I always agreed with everything that they've done? No. When they went to the car tomorrow, I hated that car. But it was what it was. I didn't sit back and argue and bicker and complain about it. I just said, my God, that wing is ugly. That wing is fugly. I don't like it. But I kept watching it because it was racing. I let it go. It was what it was. Wasn't nothing I could do about it. And then they got rid of it. They actually listened to the drivers. They actually listened to the people, and they got rid of that stupid thing. And we're back to spoilers, baby. Thank God. Granted, it's a 25-inch spoiler, but it's a spoiler. We got that back. Now we got the Gen 7 car that's coming out. It's going to be a little different. Going to have some 18-inch wheels. Things change. I wish they could stay the same because that's what we grew up with. That's what we love, you know? But we can't keep things the same. We got to either move forward with it or stay stuck in our ways and just... The only person we're really hurting is ourselves, you know? When we just can't let certain little things go and just... I love racing, man. It don't matter if it's two kids on go-karts riding around the neighborhood. I'm going to be watching. I'm going to see if little Johnny bites the dust or not. You know, I'm going to be watching. Dirt track racing, doesn't matter what it is. I love it. I love racing. But above all, I love NASCAR. I grew up with it. The sounds, the smell of the burning fuel, the excitement, those last lap passes, all of those things, you know, It's a great, great sport. It really, really is. Don't lose the love that you gained of the sport because of changes here and there. Don't lose the passion. Don't lose the love that you gained as a young person for the sport, because you're only hurting yourself. Though you may not agree with everything, there's still enjoyment that you can have by watching it. It's still cars on the track. They're still fighting week in and week out. Look at it through the eyes of a child. When a child goes to a race for the very, very first time, look at it see it through their eyes. All they know is, man, these cars are cool. They're loud. They're fast. You see their eyes light up. One day that was you. And now you're growing up and you're kind of getting into the politics of it, and you're looking at the business side of it, and you're looking at what was and the history of it. And the history is very, very important. Don't get me wrong. The history of the sport is extremely important. And I don't want any of that to ever die, go away. We got to maintain the history of the sport. And unfortunately, changes have, in a way, hurt the history of the sport. I agree with that. Every time when we make more changes, we move away from what was. But it's always going to be there. If it's not mentioned by anybody, it still lives within you. It still lives within us. Darrell Waltrip, Cale Yarborough, Davey Allison, Harry Gant, Richard Petty. I mean, all of that lives within us because we grew up with it. These youngsters today, we need to pass that on. It's our responsibility to pass on all of that history. Because whatever NASCAR becomes in the future, that history still needs to be there. And that's a wonderful thing about video, is that we can go back and we can watch some of these moments, And we need to share that with these youngsters and pass that on, pass on that history. That's our responsibility, not just NASCAR's. We got to keep moving forward and pass on that tradition the same way that it was passed on to us. So the flag is not racist, okay? Them taking it down, it was because it was offensive, and there's a lot of people in this world letting all sorts of things offend them, and we've already gone over that. And it's gotten overboard. Every time somebody's offended by something, oh Lord, we need to make a big change here because so-and-so's offended. When it becomes a race issue, though, it's different. It's different. And it's something that we need to address. Now, from a business standpoint, a lot of people just want to stick a knife in NASCAR and hate NASCAR for making the decision that they did. But you got to look at it also from a business type standpoint. NASCAR is its own entity, but NASCAR is, shown on, you got ESPN, that stuff's shown on, ABC, that network, NBC, whoever it is, Fox, whatever. They got contract deals with these major channels. They can't say, hey, this is how we're doing it, and if you don't like it, too bad, because you know what's going to happen? Those networks are going to kick NASCAR right to the curb. And we can't have that. NASCAR can't have that. So they got to make a business decision. Okay? They got to say, all right, we got to do what's right here. We got to bite the bullet, and we got to do this. So look at it in that light also. You know, it was a business decision. And sometimes business decisions are hard. Me, I'm a multiple time manager. I've been a manager in a lot of different places. And there's been a lot of times in my past as a manager that I've had to make decisions that I didn't want to have to make. I had to put personal relationships aside, and I never got too close to my employees for this very reason. You know, there were ones that I admired and ones that I really held in high standards. And sometimes you got to make those unpopular decisions that you yourself don't want to make. I've had many employees that were great workers when they were at work. And then they'd get off into not showing up, calling in, and things of that sort. And so I had to fire many of them. And these were, you know, people that had children, families, bills to pay, but we all got bills to pay. But we all need to tend the business and do what we need to do and do it right. Again, it's a matter of the heart, doing what you know is right. You know, I heard a wonderful quote the other day about discernment. Discernment is not knowing right from wrong. Discernment is knowing the difference between right and almost right. Because sometimes we get it in our head, you know, I'm making the right choice here. I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. Because, you know, there's always that because. That because is sometimes that gray area that we let our minds slip off into. And so we try to justify what we're gonna do or what we're saying or what we're thinking to make it right for us. Doesn't mean it's really right. So discernment, knowing the difference between right and almost right. If there's that little gray area, it's probably not right. You need to sit down, buckle down, think about it, and do what is right. In every situation of life, every situation you come into, simply do what's right, and life will go a whole lot better for you. We all make mistakes. I know that. And we need to do what's right and see this thing for what it is. Confederate flag wasn't hurting anybody, but it wasn't doing anything for anybody either by flying. It goes both ways, guys.